help. Whoa! One side of this world was destroyed because the death bandits destroyed Shehzade Mustafa. The sun went down on his face. His divan fell apart. They tricked the Ottoman Sultan into sin. This was the translation of few lines of an elegiac Turkish poem by Tashli Jali Yahya Bey on the tragedy of the execution of Shehzade Mustafa. Perhaps even the big names of the Ottoman sultans would not have received that much love from their people, which Shehzade Mustafa had received. No one would have cried that much for any of them, as much they cried on the unjust death of Shehzade Mustafa. Today in this video, you'll get to know about Shehzade Mustafa, who was not only the prince of the Ottoman dynasty, but also the prince of the heart of his people. And was he really a traitor? And what was the actual reason, which became the cause of his death? But before going further, it's our humble request to the viewers to subscribe to the channel, and do like and share the video. A few clicks of yours will not cost you anything, but it'll motivate us, and help our channel to grow. We really appreciate and regard your support. And please, give your feedback in the comments section below. On the 6th of August 1515, Shehzade Mustafa was born in Manisa, while his father Shehzade Suleiman was the governor or Sanjak ruler of Manisa, before ascending to the Ottoman throne. His mother, Mahidevran, was among the 17 women of his harem. He lived his early 5 years at Manisa with his father and mother, until his grandfather, Sultan Selim I, died in 1520. His father succeeded the Ottoman throne, and they moved to the capital of the Ottoman Empire, Istanbul. He spent a period of his later life at the Topkapı Palace. In 1521, Sultan Suleiman lost 2 of his other sons from other women, a 9-year-old, Mahmud, and a toddler, Murad. Shehzade Mustafa then became the eldest, and chief of his princely generation. He received his education from the best teachers of the empire. When he became young, his father, Sultan Suleiman, asked from one of Shehzade Mustafa's teacher about his performance. His teacher defined him as, "He is fair like his father, the Sultan of the world, brave and fearless like his grandfather, Yavuz Sultan Selim, intelligent like his great ancestor, Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror, the most brilliant prince the great empire have ever seen." Soon Shehzade Mustafa proved that these words of his teacher were not the empty praises to please the Sultan. He was a popular prince. During his stay in Istanbul, he influenced all the statesmen and the people. He was a talented fighter even from his childhood, and also much loved by the Janissaries. He was very intelligent, and had a strong political education. Even as a prince, he showed everyone that he would be a great sultan of the empire. His biggest supporters of this path were the Grand Vizier Pagali Ibrahim Pasha, who had been with him since his childhood, and his mother, Mahidevran Sultan. According to old Turkish tradition, all princes have to work as governors in their princely provinces as part of their training. In around 1533, at the age of 19, Shehzade Mustafa was appointed as the governor or Sanjak Bey of Manisa, and as per Ottoman tradition, his mother, Mahidevran, also left Istanbul to accompany him. He was famous as an honest governor, for his generosity and fair decisions. His management with compassion helped him to win the love of his people. But he did not hesitate to take the heads of those who persecuted the people, took bribes, and did things contrary to the interests of the state. During the years he spent in Manisa, he would go to the Manisa Sultan Mosque every Friday, pray there together, and then address the people, and listen to their problems. Shahzade Mustafa became very popular in the region. The people living in Manisa were so happy with his administration. Soon the news of their satisfaction spread in the surrounding regions, and people started to migrate to Manisa to live there. Foreign observers of the Ottomans, especially the ambassadors who followed the Ottoman dynastic politics closely, their comments were remarkable about the performance of Shahzade Mustafa as governor. An ambassador of his time described that, "Mustafa founded a wonderful and glorious court, which is not less than that of his father." Another ambassador wrote that, "It is impossible to describe how much his people love him. Everyone wants him to be succeeded the throne." He did many operations to please and for the betterment of his people. He took some decisions without informing his father, Sultan Suleiman, which were not welcomed by him, and he became angry. Shahzade Mustafa wrote an apology letter to explain the incidents, but Sultan did not even respond to his letter. As the things were going well in Manisa, on the contrary, the things were a bit complicated in Istanbul. The name of Shahzade Mustafa was praised by everyone, from the highest level of the state to the ordinary citizen on the street. They mentioned his name as the future Sultan. This situation left a negative effect on Sultan Suleiman. He has noticed the power of his eldest son. In many situations, he was also misinformed about Shahzade Mustafa. So, he started losing his innocence towards his own son, and he started to see him as a great threat, and as a rival to his rule, who could be cause for a revolt in later times. In addition, 2 years after Mustafa went to Manisa, Pagali Ibrahim Pasha, who was his biggest supporter, and was protecting and watched him since childhood, was executed in 1536. His mother Mahidevran was also being removed from the harem. Hurrem Sultan, the favorite Haski and the legal wife of Sultan Suleiman, was supposed to be suspected behind these events. She gave birth to 4 sons of Sultan Suleiman, and wanted one of his own sons to ascend to the throne. Among them, the strongest candidate was the eldest, Shahzade Mehmet, who was 6 years younger than Shahzade Mustafa. Suleiman the Magnificent had a great love for Shahzade Mehmet, his first son from Hurrem Sultan. He often addressed him as the eminent of the princes. Even indirectly, he showed that he wanted him to ascend to the throne. All accumulating events broke out when it was time for Shahzade Mehmet to go to his princely province. Shahzade Mustafa was taken from Manisa, as if he was exiled, and he was sent to Muchfar province, Amasya. Mostly in the Ottomans, the princes who were considered the #1 candidate for the throne, were sent to Manisa. This incident became the cause of outrage among the public and the soldiers at the state level. To clarify this situation, Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent had to make a statement. He said that Shahzade Mustafa sent to Amasya for the security of our eastern borders. But Shahzade Mehmet died suddenly 2 years later in 1543, and the seat at Manisa was empty again. While Shahzade Mustafa was thinking that he would return to Manisa again, Shahzade Salim, another son of Hurrem Sultan, was appointed as the new governor of Manisa. Shahzade Mustafa was sent further away from Amasya to the Konya. This was the moment when Shahzade Mustafa realized that his father had never thought about him to being on the throne. One of the biggest factors in this was Rustem Pasha, the Grand Vizier of the empire. Hurrem Sultan married her daughter, Myrima Sultan, with Rustem Pasha, and they made a court alliance against Shahzade Mustafa. Although he strategically started a campaign to defame Shahzade Mustafa in the capital city of Istanbul, Still, everyone thought that Mustafa is the prince who deserved the throne most. So in order to ascend one of Harem Sultan's sons to the throne, it became necessary to eliminate Shahzade Mustafa. Though there is no written evidence of such a conspiracy, but it is said that both Harem and the Grand Vizier Rustem Pasha turned Sultan against Mustafa. The campaign against Iran was the event that ignited all that situation. It was the year 1552, the expedition was to be made against the Safavids in the east. Even though Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent had seen many victories, now he was a tired sultan of over 60 years. For this reason, he did not go on the expedition to be made against the Safavids in the east, and appointed Rustem Pasha as commander-in-chief of this expedition. When the army, which set out from Istanbul, arrived in the city of Aksaray, there was almost a revolt. According to some sources, Rustem Pasha sent back one of Sultan Suleiman's most trusted men, to report the Sultan about the situation. He was informed as, all the soldiers said that, the Sultan should have been with us, do they think us mercenaries? They said that if Sultan Suleiman could not head of the army, then it was the time to put a younger prince on the throne so he could lead the army. The Janissaries had clearly stated that they wanted to see Shahzade Mustafa as Sultan, otherwise they would not go one step further from Aksaray. Actually, it was like a small-scale rebellion. Rustem also spread rumors that Shahzade Mustafa had provoked them to this non-receptive idea. This incident must have reminded the memories of Suleiman the Magnificent, because his father, Yavuz Sultan Selim, overthrew his grandfather, Bayezid II, in the same way with the support of the army, and poisoned him while sending him to Dimatoka. He was now experiencing the same events that he had personally seen when he was young. So in anger he believed that Mustafa is planning all that to claim the throne. However, Shahzade Mustafa and those who supported him were also misled at the same time. The people next to him said, "Our Sultan will leave the throne to you, but Rustem Pasha is preventing this." They said, "You better grow a beard so that your father understands your intention, and leaves the throne to you," and few other things like that. It was forbidden for the princes to grow beards, because this action was a sign of the Sultanate. Shahzade Mustafa was deceived by these misdirections. On top of that, the fake letters written by Rustem Pasha on behalf of Shahzade Mustafa were added. The Venetian ambassador, who lived at that time, tells about the fraudulent letter. By seeing that all the situations were going against them day by day, Rustem Pasha secretly used the Shahzade Mustafa's stamp. By using Mustafa's name, he wrote a letter to the Iranian ruler Damas. In this fake letter, Shahzade declared that he would establish a close friendship with Shah Tahmasp, and said that if possible, he wanted to marry his daughter. Rustem Pasha sent this fake letter to Iran, which he wrote on behalf of Shahzade Mustafa. In the same way, he seized the reply letter written by the Shah to the prince. Rustem Pasha had a huge trump card. He would show these fake letters to the Sultan when necessary, and turn the end of the Shahzade Mustafa. According to historians, the following summer in 1553, Rustem Pasha asked Mustafa to join his father's army during the campaign against the Safavid-Persia War. Mustafa accepted his offer, and assembled his army to join his father. On another side, he warned and persuaded Sultan Suleiman that Mustafa was coming to kill him. Sultan considered this as a threat, and he ordered the execution of his son. Shahzade Mustafa came to his father's camp with his own army under his command. While he was walking to his father's tent, he was told many times that it was a game, and that he would be executed, but he did not listen to anyone, and walked to his death step by step. He entered in the tent of his father, wearing a white dress which was symbolizing his innocence. But inside, 7 deaf and dumb executioners were waiting, and they attacked him. Mustafa tried to escape from the executioners, but he was killed by Mahmud Aga, Rustem Pasha's right hand. the future of the Ottomans. Shahzade Mustafa died at the age of 38, on the orders of his own father. Because it was thought that he was collaborating with the Shah of Iran, the body of Shahzade was taken out of the tent by placing it on an Iranian carpet, and exhibited to the soldiers. After his death, the Janissaries and Anatolian soldiers of Mustafa rebelled against the decision of Sultan. They supported Mustafa because he deserved succession as per Ottoman traditions, and because he was a good warrior. In protest, the Janissaries did not even eat that day. After the protests of the army, Sultan Suleiman dismissed Rustem Pasha from his rank as Grand Vizier, and sent him back to Istanbul. Mustafa's execution caused the unrest in Anatolia, because people loved his braveness and generosity, and were seeing him as the next Sultan. While the body of Shahzade Mustafa was being taken to Bursa, the tears flooded in every settlement he passed. Some people started to say that, if Shahzade Mustafa not then his son should be on throne. So, just at the age of 6 or 7, the only surviving son of Shahzade Mustafa, Prince Mehmed, was also executed by the order of Sultan. Some historians stated that, later Sultan Suleiman even blamed himself for this unfair execution of his son. He wanted to hold his son's funeral prayer himself but could not do it because of crying. Mustafa had been accused on charges of planning to dethrone his father, which was never proved later. Shahzade Mustafa was buried in a mausoleum in Bursa. Sultan Suleiman also conveys his pain in the poem that he wrote for his son, Shahzade Mustafa, under his pen name, Mehibi.
Ey oğul, gözlerimden aka dursun, durmasın yaşım benim. Ya ne için saklarım şimdi görü başım benim? İçtüğüm hüni cigerdir, yedigüm derdü elem, dürlü dürlü matbağı dilde pişer aşım benim. Ey felek, çarhın bozulsun olasın ağır harap, nitekim odları yaktın bu içim taşım benim. Çektiğim bağrı gamı, çarhın katları çekmeye, gelmedi bu vadin mihnette padaşım benim. Ey muhibbi, ta ölünce iş bu derde çare yok. Bahr olsa yeridir şimdi.